So this week was the announcement of Blaze Firemind, who will be first released as a promo card at conventions this summer. Now, this is not Fab's first event exclusive card or even their first event exclusive hero, but it is the first that will be legal on release in a competitive format. So rejoining me today is SloopDoop to expand on a previous conversation we had about game pieces in Fab and when they are acceptable and when they're not. A huge shout out to our channel members for supporting what we do here. If you want to get involved with the channel and the Dice Commando community, please consider joining as a channel member. Remember, these videos are only possible with your support. You can show that support with a like, a subscribe, and by leaving us a comment and sharing your feedback. Community first, and go Commando. Hey there, my flesh and blood friends. Welcome back to Dice Commando and Go Again, a fabulous cast. Today I am joined by SloopDoop. Now, just shy of a year ago, it was actually June 12th, 2023, I had this gentleman on my channel for the first time, actually, and we were discussing unique game pieces, such as exclusive promo cards and their place in the game. And, this specifically around cards like Yorick, Therion, and so on. And the conclusion that the two of us kind of came to together was that they were perfectly fine as long as they were not competitively viable. But then this last week, we have the announcement of the card you see on the screen, which is Blaze Firemind, which is a super, super cool looking card and brings Wizard back. So I am here to get kind of as a re-wrap with Sloop. So how are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing pretty good. I've been obviously this is the newest new hero that we're getting, but I've been personally enjoying the new heroes from MST, specifically Enigma. I proxied up the whole deck because I just was too excited to not play it, and let me tell you, this set is pushed. It is very strong. This deck is actually incredible, but I've been doing pretty good. How have you been this week?
Yeah, I've been all right as well. I'm a little jealous I'm not in Japan and all that, but
it seems like a very good time.
Yeah, I don't think I could have taken the time away nor the financial investment, but
oh, I know, yeah.
Either way, so
yeah,
go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was just gonna say I've been choosing to actually engage with MST instead of travel because it was like I really want to buy into this new set, but it's like I can't do both. So I've decided, I'm just gonna buy a bunch of MST because this set looks insane, and I want a blinged out Enigma deck.
Yeah, I mean, I figured you'd be all in on the Illusionist, and I didn't see a tweet from you maybe 24 or 48 hours ago about the one card that comes in, puts counters, and you're like, this card might be busted.
Guy, yeah. Yeah, dude, Astral Etchings put 3 counters on it. That's another 6 power. Swing if you got a Shimmers of Silver or 2. Oh my goodness, that card gets out of control really quick.
Yeah.
Feels like playing Magic again.
Yeah, and like new can mill, I think, really fast. So we'll see how this all goes. But in terms of that, breaking news out of Japan is that day one of the calling was a 7-0 Zen, is my understanding. So that is surprising to me. So what are you looking at playing pre-release weekend? I mean, obviously you open your 8 packs and stuff, but what are you gonna push?
I mean, unless my card pool is absolute garbage, it's going to be Enigma. I mean, listen, I am not interested when I go to pre-releases. I'm not there to win necessarily. Like, it's nice if I can, but I'm just there to open up packs to the new set and just like engage them, try and pull a Majestic, hopefully maybe get something really cool like a Marvel or an L. And I will just play whatever hero I understand the most. So like when it was heavy hitters, I just played Kassai because I was like, I know Warrior. I don't really know Brute and Guardian that well. Like Guardian's not that hard to play, but I went to whatever I'm used to. So Enigma's going to be probably what I play.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. I mean, obviously it depends what you open to. If you open the bombs, you go with the bombs, but sure.
Yeah. If you get a couple really good Majestics for newer Zen, you'll be like, okay, like this is just the better deck.
Yep. Yeah. Awesome. All right. So Blaze Firemind. So this was announced earlier. I believe it was earlier this week, and it will be starting basically next weekend, available at the UK Games Expo, but it will be available throughout the summer as a convention promo prize. Now, this card will be going legal on May 31st within the Blitz format. So, kind of circling back to our conversation from just shy of a year ago, this will be the first time that we have seen a hero who has the ability to earn Living Legend points before it is available in a sealed product of sorts, right? Whether it be a side product like Dorinthea Rhinar or the UPF product or normal booster packs. And it was, I do also want to say, in the last like 36 hours, we saw an update by the Fluke and Box video on James White saying that this would be a part of the skirmish season. We don't obviously know what that means, but it's likely to conclude that it would be part of the prizing for skirmish season in either an entry prize or a cold foil prize or something like that, right? Which does help with availability of the product, or I should say of the hero, but it doesn't necessarily solve that problem because it's still folks who have to go to stuff to get it versus opening a product. So turn it over to you. What's your thoughts on the situation? And we can talk about Blaze too, because she seems really cool. So throw it over to you.
Yeah, so Blaze seems, I mean, she's the only wizard that will be currently legal in Blitz right now because both Kano and Icelander are gone. And so, yeah, because I think those are the only two wizards right now, right? In Blitz, I don't think there's any other young one. I don't.
There are no. Yeah, there's no wizard is not legal in Blitz. Yeah.
I think my issue with this is it feels kind of bad to be like, hey, wizard players, we're finally giving you another Blitz hero, but you have to go to these conventions or play a different deck in skirmish to win one to actually be able to play it, and that definitely feels a bit bad. You could also honestly, I feel like this is. You can almost extend this into what they've done with, for instance, Enigma New Moon with MST. You could kind of say that card is almost at the exclusivity of Blaze right now. Obviously, a bit more available, but one in every 20 boxes, and you're not even guaranteed to get that Enigma. I guess it's the only one of the gold foil packs, right. Except for the Japanese ones. I think they have an extra marble.
Yeah, but that's not functionally different than like Shiana was or Emperor was. I mean, maybe the rarities were slightly different as both of those were legendaries within their own respective products. And you could even say the same for, Starvo was an M, right? Mm-hmm. So
but I think those pull rates are a lot easier than this Enigma New Moon because even Shiana, there was 2 legendaries, so it's like one out of every what was it, every 8 boxes basically, because it was that or 2. I believe so. Blaze obviously, it does feel really bad that you have to go to a convention to get this hero, and then you can only get it at skirmish. And I think this just kind of leads into, and we were talking a little bit before this, of what James White was saying in that same interview, where they are basically just treating Blitz like it's a casual format now, where this is why they're willing to do this with young heroes, where it's like, well, it's for Blitz, so who really cares? It's a more casual format. But then that kind of comes into contrast with the idea of this is a prize at skirmish season, and skirmish season is, whether you like it or not, it's more casual than CC events, but it is still a competitive event. It's more of an armory level competitive event, but there's still prizes on the line, and having a hero, the only way to get that hero is by winning at a skirmish. That feels a little bad, especially considering this isn't the 5th Guardian that they're introducing. This is the only wizard that's available in the format, so you're kind of wizard players are basically just sitting here waiting for, to be able to play something new, and they might not even be able to play this hero.
Right. Yeah, I do want to clarify something you said above, because it's the internet and someone will nail you on it. The skirmishes are actually casual rel, right? But to your point about it being a competitive focused event because there is performance-based pricing. I just want to make sure that the pitchforks are put down. Okay.
Yeah, skirmish is it's the lowest form of competitive event, but let's be real, it's still something that players, if this is the prize and somebody wants to play her, they're going to be showing up and they're going to be like, no, I'm playing to win. I'm not here to have fun. I want that promo. Right.
Yeah, now we've seen a lot of, so I had made a post earlier this week about how I think this is a slippery slope, and it's the most engaged tweet I've ever made in my short Twitter career. So yay me, I guess. But a lot of responses were like, well, this will almost certainly be in the all Arcane set, which I agree with is probably plausible, right? I do want to point out to folks, though, that she has the comma after her name, which implies that she's not a young version of a adult hero. Just throwing it out there. Or at least of an original one. We do have the Precedent set by Prism, Advent of Thrones, and all that. So, take that what you will. But the new set is likely, based on the timelines we've seen, the new set is likely September timeframe, whereas we know that skirmish season is August. So to my point earlier about this being the first hero that could potentially earn LL points before the community at large is able to attain her, what do you think that means? Or does it matter, I guess?
I mean, my imagining is that if these are really, really hard to get, where you can only get them at conventions, this is going to make it, at least for the first week, there's probably going to be very few people who are even playing Blaze, who are both going to the convention, getting the promo, building the deck, and showing up to a skirmish to actually play it. I think the number's going to be small, so it's going to be like, there'll be a couple stores where it might matter. There might be somebody who's like, wow, we all lost to Blaze, and like, it's kind of bullshit that none of us could even get this hero, even though we wanted to play it because we just couldn't afford to travel to a convention. Because if you don't live close to a convention, like it's not cheap to go to them. You're not just getting the promo. You're spending a lot to get there. But yeah, I ultimately don't think it's going to matter too much. But I can see as skirmish season goes along, and if you've won your first week and you won the Blaze promo, and then you go to the next one, there's going to be an increased amount of players playing Blaze, and then another increased amount week over week because you're going to have people winning their earlier skirmishes and then maybe going to later ones if people go to multiples. I mean, skirmishes. It really depends. I mean, this promo might be enough to get more people to show up. I mean, I go to skirmishes anyways because they're usually around my area, so it's like, why would I not go to the locals? But yeah, I don't know. I don't know if all the CC players will show up for her. As for the adult version, I would imagine this might be one of those circumstances like Kassai, where Blaze Firemind is the young only, but then there's a Blaze something else as the adult, and just regular Blaze is the young version that comes in the set. So it's like Enigma New Moon, as we were talking about. It's a different version,
Right.
young only, different version than Enigma, and that seems like what they're kind of doing. So but I do think, considering there's no wizards in Blitz, it feels pretty bad that the only wizard is now like a really hard to get promo before skirmish season, where it's going to be played.
Right. Yeah, and like I want to make sure we don't get too into the weeds on the specifics of the hero, because I agree. I think it's so someone pinged again on my Twitter and they're like, well, it doesn't matter because she's not good. And I'm like, first off, there's two things wrong with that comment. First, I think she is good, and Wizard is inherently really good in Blitz because Stormstrider's in Blitz is phenomenal, right? But then you also have the point of, it's not the point. Whether she's good or not isn't the point. Whether or not she'll be available in the next set isn't the point, right? What they're demonstrating is that they have, for the first time, broken that barrier of having a hero that can earn points not globally accessible before that opportunity. So I had brought up the fact that it was, quote unquote, a slippery slope, in that whether or not it matters or not now, with air quotes, to you, that this is legal or not, it sets the precedent that they could do it in the future. Now that they've done this, what's to stop them in the future from doing it for CC? To doing something that matters, and I don't mean you, Sloop, but to do something that matters to you, right? Whether or not this matters to you collectively on the other side of the screen today, this shows that they're now willing to do it. And now they could keep power creeping on that line. So do you think that this is a one-off, or do you think that this is a new precedent?
I think this is a new precedent, but I believe, or at least I really hope, that the precedent went from, we're not going to make any exclusive promos, to now where it's like, we're only going to do it as young versions. If they then step into adult, I think that like there's like, they basically just shifted the goalposts almost, where it's like, okay, we'll do some, but only young. And I think if it's only young, I think that's okay, because again, if they want to start treating Blitz like it's the more for fun casual format, then I don't think it matters nearly as much. Like, this is like the entry level, it's just for fun. They definitely seem to be pulling away from the competitiveness, although then there's the question, if they start to do, as James had mentioned in that interview, again, like Team Blitz, they want to start bringing that to as a competitive format. Well, then when you have exclusive, really, really hard to get promos, that kind of muddies the water a little bit in that regards too. Yeah, so it's definitely, if they step into CC heroes, I think there will be a very large and I think justified uproar about it, because I do think that if your main format, your competitive format is classic constructed, and it's already got some exclusive cards, like Fableds are usually somewhat hard to get. I mean, the newer ones maybe not so much, but you've got some of these older Fableds that sometimes our deck runs Heart of Fiendal or I have Ophidia. And then you add on top of that, now some of the heroes are going to be hard to get for the competitive format, and if they're good, it could be a huge step. But I do think the precedent has just shifted to adult or young only, and then the next step would be if they break past that rule and go into adult.
Sure. Yeah, I agree with you. And again, I want to be very clear. I have a huge amount of faith in LSS to do the right thing. I'm sure that this being a one-off, they will not continue to power creep it in the non-power creep sense. But yeah, it's just very interesting to me that this is the step that they've taken. And, I'll flip it back to you as someone who, at least in his early days of Flesh and Blood, played a ton of UPF. Is this an acknowledgement that UPF has not gained the traction globally that they expected it to?
Like, do you mean that they wouldn't have printed this if UPF had been very popular, or is it that the change in Blitz being more casual is due to UPF not being popular?
Yeah, it's more so that because I'm under the assumption that let's say UPF isn't to the level of popularity that they thought it would be. That's why now they're moving these promos into Blitz instead of UPF. I mean, because this could have very well been a UPF hero, or they could have released it and said it's Blitz legal as of some release of product date and just let people play with it. Because that's what's weird to me here, is that she's hitting the ground and being legal with the next set legality, right? Because it'll be legal May 31st, which lines up with Mistveil.
I don't think it actually has anything to do with UPF not being popular. I think it's more to do with, again, as James said, like Blitz not being as popular anymore. Like Blitz was really popular when I first got into the game about 3 years ago, because it was just really easy to build a 40 card deck. You sit down, you have some quick games. It was, it was easier for people to do on like webcam Blitz because the games were shorter. So when when the lockdown was happening, everybody was playing Blitz. But I think as the game has developed and aged, more people have been able to get into CC, and the more people that get into CC, because they start building their collections, they start expanding their decks and getting more cards, then when new players are coming in, they're like, oh, everybody's playing CC, so we'll just join that. And I think over time, Blitz has just become less popular. People don't like it as a competitive format. So I think LSS has just finally said, okay, you guys don't want it as a competitive format. We're not treating it as a competitive format. So let's just make it casual, and we'll treat it kind of in, like, I almost think Blitz now is, UPF is multiplayer Blitz, and Blitz, like regular Blitz, is just your 1v1 version. It's like kind of a similar format almost at this point, it seems. So yeah, with the deck sizes, the young heroes, the fact that they're treating them both very casually, it almost feels like they're kind of putting them in a similar category.
Yeah. I mean, that's a couple things you said there is interesting to me, right? And now, obviously, I'm biased. I'm a big fan of Blitz, right? There's no secret there. I will point out that, at Pro Tour Los Angeles, on every day, there were Blitz events that were pulling 40 plus people to play them in side events, when there were potential CC events that people could join at the same time. So there are active people out there who choose to play Blitz over CC. There has been a large push in the last year on the competitive circuit to move away from Blitz. But, you said people don't like playing Blitz. Is it that people don't like playing Blitz, or is it that the competitive players don't like Blitz, and they're the ones that are in LSS's ear, and thus because they don't like it, we've shifted away from it, which has then made the community shift away from it, right? I really challenge that it's a cart or horse type situation.
I actually would agree with that, because it's interesting. I like Blitz. I think we were just talking about this beforehand, but I find Blitz to be a really fun format to just brew random decks with, because like I built up a little Dromai, and I was built around, because like I'm like, oh, the Phoenix Flame and Flame Call Awakening to pitch to the Furnace. It's like, what if I add another version of that and play the Belittle Minnowism so I can do the same thing, and build the deck around that. And it was really fun. It actually worked decently well. But like, well, one, I couldn't build it in CC, but also like, it's just decks like that. I find it's easier to build in a 40 card format that's fast, that's quick. You can just have a fun brew that's not meant too serious. And I would actually say that I think a lot of players like playing Blitz, but you're kind of correct. The players that like playing Blitz are usually, again, the more casual. They have a deck, but they maybe don't want to buy into a full CC deck. They might want to skip some legendary. So in a format like Blitz, I would say like Goliath Gauntlet is just okay, because you can be very aggressive early game. So like, instead of having 2 block, you're just going to throw, an extra 2 power on there to really bring their life total low and put a lot of pressure. But it almost feels like, yeah, like the competitive players only want CC. They don't have interest in Blitz. So it seems like nobody wants to play Blitz. And when you go to a lot of LGSs, the more established players who usually get a say of what format they play, like, smaller LGSs especially, a lot of them will be like, oh, what do you guys want to play? And if the people who show up every week are always like CC, then the few random people who might show up every once in a while who want Blitz, they don't, get as much of a say. So I think Blitz definitely appeals more to the players who who are into the game. They want to play it, but they're not nearly as cutthroat as like the big competitive players.
Yeah.
So I do think you're kind of right there, where it feels like the perception of Blitz being horrible is kind of led down the line to nobody, to the perception that nobody plays it, but it also then leads to less people playing it because of that perception.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I mean, to your point about the LGS, right? The folks who can only be there part of the time and thus lose their ability to play Blitz are then not going to come to that shop anymore and not engage with that community anymore. And that's how communities, and then everyone's left wondering why nobody comes to the LGS anymore. So, but that's a little preachy for a different conversation and outside of the scope of this. So, okay, so if this, again, so let's go under the assumption that this is fine. What do you think that means for the future? Do we continue to see? Because one of the coolest things about Blitz is that they can do heroes like this, right? They can do one-off heroes. They can kind of test something, push something a little bit, and if it blows up, hey, at the new points level, it's only 100 wins, and you're out and you're retired, right? Fast turnover. So the experimentation is real. I like stuff like this, but do we continue then to see this to the point where you collectively or myself should just stop trying to collect every single Blitz hero? Or, what do you think about that?
I mean, the thing is, I don't think that this is out of the realm of what LSS has done ever since their inception. They have been very clear that they are fine with making exclusive cards for all sorts of things. I mean, you have content creator appreciation promos, like the ones they send every spoiler season, as well as the actual kits, like the Good Deeds promo. You've got individual sellers and stores like Star City Games and TCG Player. They get their own exclusive promos. LGS's get Armory promos. You've got events get their own exclusive promos. Yeah, so they've been very clear that they're willing to do stuff like this. So it doesn't surprise me that there's another promo for conventions and stuff like that, and then they're going to also use it in skirmish. I think the issue again comes with the fact that it's a hero. Like it's not just like a reprint of a card that already exists. It's a brand new hero.
Right. It's an to our point. It's an exclusive game piece, and to this date, the only exclusive game pieces we've seen have been UPF only.
Mm-hmm. And it definitely seems like, I mean, my hope is that after skirmish season, that this has, enough printed that it's kind of at the same rarity, maybe as like Shiana, or again, the new Enigma, where it's like they're a legendary hero, so they're way more rare, but they're not, they're not like $700 that they're impossible to get. Mm-hmm. I could see a lot of skirmish promos go for like $50. I could see the hero going for like 50 to 70 because it's a single hero, and a lot of people might look for it for that. It could also end up being a promo that's like $40 after skirmish. So if that's the case, it's not bad. But it is weird to release the hero very exclusively at only conventions, so only a few ways to get them, which like I can't go to any of these conventions. I don't have the money or means to be able to do that, to leave work for a while to go and do this for a weekend, take a day or two off and just to get a promo. So the fact that it's going to be legal for skirmish, I don't think is great. I would have preferred it was like a skirmish promo and then was legal after the skirmish season, or maybe during, but yeah, it's kind of crappy for people showing up on the first day and there's going to be maybe like the one guy who's got the wizard deck, and especially if people forget that this thing exists and then they don't plan for wizard in their blitz decks because they're like, oh, there's no wizards in the format, and then one random guy shows up maybe from out of town, right? You could say all our locals, nobody plays wizard, nobody has the blaze promo, so I won't worry about it, it's skirmish. And then if somebody shows up from the town over and they're playing blaze, it's like, well, nobody has no rune, I guess we just die to this thing.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I do think the counterpoint there, the obvious counterpoint is you should know what's legal in the format and sideboard effectively, right? I mean, it's very clear that on May 31st, we are back to, because in Blitz right now, you're generally running AB2 because you're worried about Emperor. You may not even be playing Oasis Respite.
Oh, right, the Emperor exists. Okay, never mind.
Right.
Forget everything I just said. I completely forgot the Emperor was a card.
Yeah, well, you only need AB2 for him. There's a lot of decks who still only run AB1 just in case they run up against Vincent or something like that. But yeah, AB3 is the new thing. There will be Guardian heroes that maybe run more than that, depending on if Wildfire gets. So the next BNS is like July 3rd, I think, or something like that, just after May 31st, which is probably why this is being put in there. Wildfire's probably going to get banned. again, or suspended maybe
Yeah, I
again.
mean, Wildfire's just too good for Blitz. Like when you only have 20 life, I mean, Wildfire does insane combos in CC on its own. So like I just, yeah, the thing, my philosophy with Blitz, I guess I'll go off a little bit here, is just like, I think that they should design the game for CC and then use a very hefty ban list to make sure Blitz doesn't, like, it's not completely degenerate. You
Mhm.
know, because like if cards are built to deal with 40 life heroes, then they shouldn't, like, if it's going to break a quicker format with only 20 life and be overpowering, just ban it. You know, if Blood Rush Bellow becomes too much of a problem in Blitz after skirmish season because brutes are just going off every turn, then just get rid of the card. Like, make Blitz a healthier format by using a hefty ban list. But they definitely seem to want to keep it casual. So then there's the question of like, will they ban much stuff? Because it's just for fun. But you know, when there's certain decks that can just, like, if Ether Wildfire makes this thing completely busted, you are putting a very toxic deck into an environment that's going to ruin the casual scene because the one person playing it is just going to destroy everybody else.
Right. And that's always a potential with Wizard.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, I'm fine with things being powerful, but you do have to rein it in a bit. Like Ether Wildfire, it's arguably, you know, a lot of people say it's too strong for CC. It allows too much degenerate play, and I mean, and now they have that new, what is it? What is that new candle card? It's the one
Oh,
that adds like Amplify 1.
the amp one, yeah.
Yeah, that's going to be also playable in this deck. So
Yeah,
yeah, we'll have to
I
see.
do want to give a shout out to the We Make Best boys. They have
Mhm.
they were on the combos pretty quick. They made a pretty good TTS based video that I saw like a day or so ago. A very good kind of detailing the shenanigans, let's just say, that are potential with Blaze. So, you know,
Yeah.
to that point about, oh well, I don't think she's going to be very good. A, not relevant. B, I think you're wrong. I think she's going to be very good. So, um, you know, I guess my fear, and I know one thing we kind of talked about, maybe not in so many words before, but was kind of this concept of quote unquote the rich get richer. And I want to be very careful. I don't necessarily mean money wise. Um, you know, the money aspect of these games is always very real, right? So that's just life in terms of that part of it. But in terms of, you know, if we get these promos that you have to win a skirmish in order to get, that means that the better players will naturally get the better tools, and all of a sudden you see an out of control situation. And I've been parts of games before that ran those types of models, and it was very unsuccessful long term for the game.
Yeah, especially if this is, again, you know, maybe we get the Arcane set, but if this is the only, you know, and to your point, when it's any other hero, we still have the same issue, but especially being the only hero of a class, like I guess the Emperor, but he's like dual class, he's kind of special. But this being the only like just straight up wizard, you know, it just feels like it makes it even worse. And yeah, because like honestly, if this is the promo, if I go to skirmish, I'm probably gonna play to win. I'm probably gonna play a good
Mm-hmm.
deck that I know is like solid. I'm gonna have all the legendaries. I'm gonna play everything I need. I'm gonna play something, you know, where it's like, well, you know, the promo's kind of cool. I wouldn't mind being able to build this in Blitz or even UPF, you know, because it seems kind of fun. So, you know, I very much agree with you there. I think, yeah, it's something they're gonna have to be very careful with. If this is something that only happens every once in a while, like maybe once a year, there's like an exclusive promo. It's not the worst, especially if we then see that character get remade in a set like following up.
Mm-hmm.
But I just, yeah, it could cause problems if they do it too often because people, you know, you have to contend with human beings' emotions on stuff like this. And a lot of what we've talked about right now isn't even like at the end of the world or it's like a huge
Mm-hmm.
issue or like an actual real life issue. It's just a big feels bad. It
Mm-hmm.
feels bad to show up at a store and be like, wow, I wanted to play this Blaze deck. Now I'm getting beaten by it. And I couldn't get the promo because I couldn't afford to go to a convention before now. And because I just lost to this deck, you know, I'm not going to be able to actually win the promo, so I don't
Mm-hmm.
even get the chance to play it after now. Now I got to wait and buy it after, which you'll be able to buy it after. Hopefully not too expensive. Most skirmish prizes aren't, but yeah, it just, and I think as a company, you got to be careful of feel bad's moments because, you know, players will only take so much of that before they just leave the game entirely.
Right.
Right. So you can't affect everything, can't make everybody happy. Some people are just going to be upset and leave. You're not going to be able to fix that, but you do, I think, want to be careful with stuff like this because you want to minimize that impact.
Yep. And you nailed my next point. I love it. Actually, it's one more point down, but you nailed it. And that was kind of the lead in on the feel bad of within a, to your point, a more casual atmosphere, let's say it that way, right? Which is apparently where we're going here. In a more casual atmosphere, Wizard definitely preys upon those who don't know how to play against Wizard, right?
Same with
There's,
Illusionist.
yeah, I mean, it is a very safe statement for me to say that. And therefore, Wizard is one of the classes that across the community, right, whether you believe that yourself or not, right, across the community, Wizard is definitely one of those classes that leads to a large number of feel bad moments of, I just have to sit here and lose. So I understand why they're bringing back Wizard. I suspect the reason they're bringing back Wizard prior to Skirmish is they want to make sure that the Wizard players have something to play in Skirmish season. Completely awesome. But now you're doing a exclusive promo, which in itself creates feel bad vibes in the class that is responsible for the largest number of feel bad vibes in the game. So I'm just worried about the compoundingness of the potential compoundingness of there. What are your thoughts?
I mean, I think it just always feels bad when players are gate kept out of playing a deck in its entirety because you can't even get the hero card, right? Like when people complained about the Majestic adult heroes in sets now,
right.
It's not like, I'll be honest with you, they're like $2, $2 to $3.
Right.
If you're going to a competitive event where it actually matters, you can spend the extra $3. You've probably already spent a couple hundred getting all the cards anyways. You could spend an extra couple bucks. And if you're at just an armory, nobody cares. Just use the token of the young hero. Just double the life. Nobody cares at like the armory level. You could just use the token. It's fine. But when you make, and people have had this issue about legendary heroes, which, it's, I think those are already towing the line because it really does feel bad when, let's say this promo, I mean, again, it's getting done in skirmish season, but let's say they do a promo where it's not in skirmish season. It's just, here's the promo, it's exclusive, it's rare. And then like, you just don't get the chance to play like York. If York was made to actually be playable in Blitz, where it's like, he's very clearly not, that would feel abhorrent because it's like, well, I didn't go to what was it?
It was Worlds, right?
Yeah, it was Worlds, the first world. No, that was Tales of Adventure. Because I got the Tales of Adventure. Right. York was at, I think it was like Las Vegas, the first, wasn't it like the first, oh no, wasn't it the first Pro Tour? I think it was one of those big first events. It was the first event where like there was like 1,000 players that showed up and it was the first like, okay, Flesh and Blood's like doing well in America right now. But like if that was an actual playable card, and it's exclusive, if they ever step into that realm where they don't make it more available, like adding it as a skirmish promo, that's going to be, I think, a genuine problem because it's like, I think it's more fine when it's like, oh, I can't build Assassin into its full extent because, like, I can't build Azuri to her full extent because I can't afford Codex of Frailties. But you can still buy the deck, build a budget version. You can still get the hero itself and build, like, a budget version of the deck. But when you can't even get the hero, that's, I think, where we start seeing problems. So I really hope that they never take it past, never make it where they're extremely exclusive and you're not going to have it something more available like a skirmish promo. Because feels bad when a hero is like $40 to $50 if it's a skirmish promo, but I don't see it as much different as them printing it as a legendary in a set, which, some people aren't happy with. I think is okay, as long as it's not like a super powerful, like, okay, that's a hero that's actually like breaking the format, best deck in the format, then I think that's a problem because then the demand goes sky high and that legendary becomes like $300.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I completely agree, and that's to the rich get richer point, whether it be the rich of money or the rich of skill and talent. One thing I do want to say, and maybe you can talk me down off of this, right? I think I'm never surprised at reactions from the community, right? Because it's the way it works on the social medias. But a lot of the reactions to this have been, oh, it's fine because she won't be good, or it's fine because she'll eventually be released. I think the concept isn't about Blaze herself. It's not about this card and what this card is. It's setting a new precedent of having something that is legal before its quote unquote widespread release. And that's what I'm concerned about.
I think it's a valid concern. Again, I think like it's weird because it's we're gonna have to see how it unfolds because there's the duality of it where it's like, okay, well, not many people can get it, so it's probably if barely anybody can get it, what are the chances that people who even have the promo are even gonna build the deck? They're gonna go and go to a skirmish because like not everybody goes to skirmish, not everybody plays wizard, so a lot of people are going to get the promo and they're going to stick it in a binder, right? So it's like there's probably going to be very minimal amounts of people showing up at their first skirmish season week with the promo, but then of course, after that first week, maybe you didn't manage to pick it up, or some people did, but like if you didn't win one, you couldn't find one, then you miss out on week two when more people might be playing the deck. I think it's probably not going to be as big of an issue, but at the same time, for the individuals again who do have to face it and they might wanted to play the deck and they couldn't get it, it's going to be a big deal to those players. Like as an individual, if I'm like, man, I really love Wizard, I want to play this, I can't, and then somebody sits down across from me and they have the promo, it's gonna feel really, really bad and give people a pretty negative perception of the game, at least for that moment. So it's, again, I think it's something else that's really has to be careful with. And I think just keep your ear to the ground and listen to community feedback. If nobody really cares and it doesn't end up being a big deal, I don't think it's the end of the world. If the promo ends up being like 20, $30, I think it's okay. But yeah, I don't know. It doesn't feel great that they're releasing it and saying, hey, go to skirmish season. Some people can play this, but most of you can't.
Right. Well, now let me push on that last thing, or not push because I'm not pushing against you. Let me expand on that last thing that you said, right? So you said, keep your ear to the ground and listen to community feedback. Is there a potential pitfall there, though, right? In that there are still people playing Blitz. There's a lot of people still playing Blitz, but they may not be doing so at the same level as the competitive players who have managed to, through their complaints, get Blitz sidelined, right? So if you're listening to your community, are you really listening to your community, or are you listening to the Fabled Hunters or whomever, whomever it may be, right? Who has the large voice?
Yeah. Yeah, that's actually something I think about a lot, like even just in my own thing, like being a creator, and I'm sure you think about too, where it's like the online fab community. I mean, first off, I think we've all kind of agreed now it's hit the point where it's like it's just as crappy as every other online community, because it's just what the internet does to people. You grow big enough and then there's enough people with dissenting views and they just start arguing and bickering about every little thing. I think we've hit that point. So hey, the game's growing, but kind of sucks now from what it was a few years ago. But yeah, you've got a really good argument there, because like it is really difficult when LSS seems very active on Twitter, right? So it's like they see the Twitter takes, and I mean Twitter is or X. Sorry, I mean I see you have it there under my name there, X SloopDoop Fab.
Hey, I get in line, I go orderly.
Yeah, no, but it's just it is a problem, because yeah, they're going to get feedback from the people who have the most opinions, who are going to share them online, but like most players aren't on Twitter. Most players aren't in the inline. They might be like on YouTube. A few of them are on YouTube. Some of them are on Twitter. Some of them are here. Some are there. A lot of them just play the game casually. They show up to skirmish in every week, but they don't even engage with the game online, because it's like their number like 3 hobby. But they're like, yeah, I have a Blitz deck, I'll show up to skirmish. So the people who might show up mostly, they might not be the people to talk about it, and so LSS could definitely get like the wrong feedback back. So I'm not really sure how they should take this. I guess, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see.
I'm not asking them to collect data that they don't have, right? I'm not saying, hey, because Jimmy down at the store doesn't like it, you LSS should know that. I don't expect them to take data that they don't like, right? But the reality of, we're picking on Twitter, so let's go there, right? The reality of Twitter is like, if you open your Twitter feed, it's like the same maybe 20 people over and over and over and over and over. And granted, I understand that following and algorithms, I understand that there's a component of that to my personal feed. But there's a small number of people who have a lot of time to do nothing all day except for give feedback, right? And when LSS, and again, I want to give LSS a lot of credit here, they do a really good job of talking to people, getting opinions. James, when I met him in Queenstown, the thing that struck me about him most was how he just listened. That was the thing that impressed me about him most, right? So they listen as a company, but they can only listen to the folks that they engage with. And with Fab's probably, in my opinion, too heavy presence on Twitter, I definitely think that there's a large potential for skew there. And again, there's Lorcana, which is doing quite well. There's the new Star Wars game, which is doing quite well. When you have newer players who sit down and they're like, oh, well, what the hell does that hero do? And then they just lose, and they have no ability to get that hero, they're just going to go play another game. And you're never going to hear from them, because they're just like, well, this is dumb. And you're never going to hear from them.
Yeah, that's actually so true, because in restaurants, for instance, like it's pretty well known that most people vote with their wallet. If the food's bad, they're not going to complain. They're not going to say anything. If it's like atrociously bad, like it's undercooked, they might be like, "Hey, I'm sorry, but this isn't like what I wanted." But most people will they'll eat it. They'll be like, "That wasn't that great." Maybe they don't finish it, and then they just never show up again. So there's like there's that pitfall. Is like a lot of the people who don't like listen. Some people are just going to come to the game and be like, it's not for me. Don't really care for it. That's fine. They go along their day. They go play something else. But yeah, it really sucks when somebody's interested and then a small thing at the beginning just goes like, oh, I can't get this hero. Like, okay, because we already have the sentiment that the game, like, I mean, the game is on the more expensive end of games, right? Like it is, you look at some of your One Pieces and Pokemon and Lorcana, like the playables, like a lot of those decks it's a cheap, easy to get into game. I don't know if they have the longevity of a game like, Magic or what is it, Magic or Flesh and Blood, where you get like super engaged and you play this thing for years on end because it's so deep. But that's why it rewards you investing in it. That's why things are expensive, because people are like, I'm going to play this Tunic for years. So yeah, I'm willing to spend a couple $100 on it. But because you already have these battling perceptions, like I don't think it adds, to the like it seems appealing to the collectors, but it kind of doesn't seem great to a player's perspective of like, oh, cool, like I wanted to go to skirmish and I can't get this hero that I wanted to play because it's like so hyper exclusive before the skirmish season. So
yeah, and if you think about we spoke to Shiana and Emperor, and again, the exact tactics of it aren't necessarily important, but Shiana was pretty expensive when she came out originally, but she was not really competitively viable. Now, as Brian aptly said on one of my casts, like there will exist a day in which Shiana is like the most busted broken hero in Blitz, right? But at this point, she's run her course. She'll go away. Emperor is only like $12. I don't think that that's what they meant it to be. I think they meant him to be like a rare thing. It's like, oh my God, I have to fight the Emperor. Like, I think that's what they wanted that to be. And I'm on board with that. And again, to that point, they were still readily available in product. You, as a first-time player, could just start buying Dynasty in the hopes that you could get the Emperor. And even though that may be just as hard to get as Blaze, there's a different concept there of you still have the ability to get it, whereas having to go to a convention, you do not necessarily have the ability to get it. And I actually want to add once more, this isn't just available at a convention. You don't just walk up to a booth and get it. You actually have to play a Fab event at a convention to get it. So it's like there's not going to be as many. Like, how many people are going to fly to Gen Con just to play Fab? The answer is not very many, right? Mm-hmm. They're going to fly to Gen Con because they were already planning on going on Gen Con. At the point that this is announced, people already have their plans in flight, pun intended, for Gen Con. So I don't think the number of this is going to be as high as people think. And I think that the resale value is going to be very high, at least out of the gate. What are your thoughts?
And to be very fair, too, this promo was going to, I mean, at least hopefully, it's going to go to a lot of people who are brand new to the game. And maybe that's the plan. They want to give people, because if you're going to a convention, the point is that you want to share the game with people who've never played it before, right? Because like a big convention like Gen Con, it's all these people gathering.
But like you have to play in a Fab, like you have to play in a Fab event to get it. So it's not going to be new. It's not like a learn to play event. You have to like sign up.
It's not a learn to play event.
No, it's like I think they have a CC, a Blitz, and something else event. So it's a game where you have to have your deck ready to go. At least that's my understanding of that was my interpretation of reading the article, was that you had to play
because that's kind of
interesting.
Events. You would think that at something like Gen Con, you would think there'd at least be a learn to play event too, right? Like there's got to be, because there's got to be a way for people to, like, again, you're at a big convention like that. It's like you've got tons of different IPs and games and things that people are there for, right? Like, and so it's like, why would you not? There's got to be. I mean, maybe the promo is not available in it, but there's got to be a learn to play event. Like, it's.
Let me see if I can pull this up without screwing up the stream.
Yeah.
But my understanding, at least of it, and granted, I could be wrong, and the internet will let us know, but my interpretation of the UK Expo event was that it was available at one of 3 tournaments being run at the event. Yeah, so UK Games, Flesh and Blood Blaze Promo Tournament 1, sealed. So it's a sealed, it's a CC, and it's a Blitz.
Yeah, 3 side events, yeah. Rainbow foil.
And to your point, it doesn't mean that it won't be available at a learn to play. That's completely fair. I guess it's just the positive of this will be available at those. So that's true. It does still seem to me that it would likely be only those. Actually, no, it does.
Yeah,
We will be
cool.
hosting 3 Blaze side events at the UK Games Expo as part of our coverage, where each player will receive 1 Blaze. The playmat will also be available as part of the store offering on site. And then, it does speak to the other conventions. And then again, to acknowledge, James confirmed that it will be part of skirmish season, but you have to imagine that that's either you have to go to the skirmish to get it as participation, or I suspect it will likely be like the cold foil. That's how you get the cold foil version of this hero, is winning skirmish. That's what I suspect it will be. We haven't seen the prizing yet, so who knows?
That's very true. They could do it as like top 8 prizing. Well, I
That's
guess
what I suspect.
Skirmish usually only has, at least around here. I live in a smaller city, like 80,000 people, and another small town of like 10,000 is nearby that we play at. So we usually get like maybe 8 to 10 people. But yeah, if it was like a promo, if it was an entry promo, then you know what, hey, I think it's better. It's a little weird that you can't like play it for first skirmish, unless you already have the deck ready. You get the promo right then and there, and then you can play it. I think that's okay. Actually, I think that's where I would say it's fine if you
it's an entry promo.
Yeah, if it's an entry promo, yeah, you can get it literally right as you go there. If that's it, then I think a lot of what we were saying about it being exclusive kind of goes out the window, because at least then you can get it. But it still remains the point that if they do this with a CC hero in the future, or even more importantly, they make a young hero and then they don't do it as something as a skirmish promo, that's going to be a big issue. If it's the prize promo, it's still not great. But if it's an entry promo, I think in this case it's going to be okay, because you can build the deck, show up, get your hero, you can start playing.
Right. And the timing's important, right? So they're releasing this as part of the summer convention schedule, which means that it's only, so May 31st. So it's only, I don't know exactly when skirmish is. It's probably like the first or second week of August. So it's roughly 6 weeks-ish ahead of schedule. But there were only 2 skirmishes this year, and we went, a good 8 months without a skirmish season. What if they'd released this as part of like a Christmas convention or something like that, and you had to go 8 months? And again, I have a lot of faith in LSS to manage that, so I don't want to go down the rat hole. I honestly do have a lot of faith in LSS. I'm just concerned about the precedent this sets, regardless of how good it is, regardless of whether you personally like Wizard or not. You have to, hopefully, one acquiesces that this is an interesting move, that it's an interesting move for them.
Yeah, if they stay at the line of like, we're only going to do young heroes, we're going to release them as a specialty promo, but then there's an entry promo maybe, but they could also do it as a cold foil version as a prizing, so that because these are rainbow foil at the conventions. But if they give those same promos as just the entry promo, I think that's a fine enough precedent. But yeah, like especially if they step past that, they start doing adult heroes. They start, hey, we're only going to release this hero as an exclusive promo, and you can't get anywhere else, and it's playable in a format like Blitz. That's, I think, where they're going to start getting into trouble. So as long as they don't blow past where they're at now, I think this is like, I think we're at the line of like where it's acceptable. Like
Okay.
it's like right at that line where it's like any further than this, and it's probably going to be a problem.
Right here, no farther. I'll put up the meme. That was my bad, Captain Picard, but whatever. All right. Well, fair enough. Yeah, I guess that was pretty much my piece for today. What do you got on your docket for the weekend? Any fab?
Yes, a lot of fab. Going to be playing at an armory tonight. Going to be hoping to get a game with Enigma first, unless like the guys are nice enough. If there's only a few of us, they might let me play it. I don't know. I know that's illegal, but I might do it anyways. But yeah, no, doing that, and I got to work on a video later. Actually, basically after this, I'm working on a video because I got another sponsorship. So I was like, well, I guess I'm making one really quick, because I had a bigger project in mind that I was going to start next, but then I got the email for this. So I was like, you know what? I had another small idea. I can get it done this weekend and put it out there. So I guess to my viewers, look forward to that.
Nice. Well, I will look forward to that. Oh, I had to ask, what's the status of the Chatcast?
Oh, yeah, I'm actually going to be filming a thing for that later. I got asked by that last night. So the Chadcast, I'll be honest, it's over. I'm going to be releasing a video basically saying I'm sunsetting it. I might still do the Chadcast uncensored here and there because I enjoy doing that on the Patreon. Not to plug that on your channel, but So I like conversing with people. That's been fun, but I'm not gonna lie, scheduling every week and working around my work schedule, trying to deal with time zones, trying to like think of the topic, think of somebody to talk to, and just like work it around also working on main channel videos. Like, and I like to like get into a project and just focus on it. So I'm gonna like suddenly be like, oh crap, I gotta plan a chatcast. So this day is like geared for the chatcast. I don't even work on my main project. Then I gotta edit it, and it just caused too much of a headache. It actually really stressed me out on a day-to-day basis because I kept like it was always in the back of my mind like, oh crap, I forgot to schedule it. I got to get on that, and there's only a few days left, so I got to get it out. And it really started to wear on me. So I eventually was like, you know what, it's not worth the downsides aren't worth the upsides. So I think I need to sunset it before it turns into a pile of garbage and just makes my life more difficult than it needs to be.
No, it makes sense. I mean, you can still. I think people underestimate the demand of regular content, right? Meaning that every Monday I'm going to release this, every Wednesday I'm going to release comment or whatever. I think people underestimate the demand of that. So, what if you kept Chadcast alive and you just did it when you felt like it? Is that more reasonable?
I've thought about doing that. I'll be honest though, like I almost feel like once I stop, that's going to be it. I've thought about it there. I'm going to leave it open still too, like if I ever do feel like getting one, because sometimes it's fun. Sometimes there's something I'll want to talk about. I might want to talk to a dev or something and be like, hey, I want to pick your brain a little bit. So I'll leave it open, but there is also the idea of like, maybe I just put that on the main channel if I'm only going to do it here and there, but it's like long content kind of doesn't usually work well with short content. Like I like to keep my main channel a little more focused. I think for right now, like it's kind of gonna sunset for a while. I might bring it back when time opens up again, but it's just, for now, I think I also feel, if I'm being honest, I know there's always stuff to talk about kind of, but like sometimes it feels like you just end up repeating yourself when you do something every week, because there's not like that much always changing in Fab, and because I don't talk about like always what's going on with the game and the competitive scene and all that stuff, it kind of leaves me with not as many topics. So
Right.
but it's mostly just the headache and the stress that it causes to my life. And it's like, listen, I think I also felt that my main channel was starting to lack in like it was just starting to fall behind, and it's like that's what I care about most. So I kind of want to focus on that a bit more.
Yeah. Well, to that point, I always enjoy your professional videos, so I want to make sure that folks know where to find. If they don't know where to find you, they're probably here because of you. So I mean, whatever. But they know where to find you.
Maybe.
I appreciate your stuff. So.
No, I appreciate watching your stuff, and I appreciate if you have me on here. It's always a joy to talk.
Absolutely. Well, to your point on the scheduling, I'm about 3 minutes from when my son's alarm goes off, so we nailed the window on this one, my friend, but we're going to sunset on this one. So any shout-outs or any parting thoughts you want to give before we get out of here?
No, I guess just in the comments, like let us know what you guys think about what we talked about here. Are you upset that Blaze is going to be hard to get before skirmish? We'll have to wait and see of what prizing it is for the skirmish season, because again, if it's an entry promo, then it's like, cool, we're good, like everybody can get one. But yeah, just let us know and give this guy some interaction. It'll help him in the YouTube algorithm.
That's right. All right, my friend. Well,
subscribe button.
Yeah, like and subscribe. Hit the jam button. So. All right, my friend. Well, thank you so much for, to your point on the scheduling, for being flexible on the scheduling and making that happen. I know it's early Saturday morning for you, so you've got, or I guess it's not early. It's near mid afternoon.
I'm up well before we started, so.
Yeah. I woke up and it was like, hey, we still on? And I was like, dude, I was in bed, man. So. All right, well, we'll stop boring people with the YouTube talk. But again, thank you very much, and say it with me, my friend. Go Commando.
Go Commando. Have a good one.